Hello everyone, this is the Afro Avenger here with a video that I've been trying to do like a million times over, but to no avail. In this video, I'm going to show off I'm going to show off one part of my record collection, my entire record. Well, not I'm going to show off the majority of it. So, yeah, record collection video, and I'm going to split it into several parts. I've tried doing this so many times, because I want to like show off the records and like give a really brief review of each one, but that makes it really long, and then the parts become way longer than they should be. So in this particular video, I'm going to show off like a set amount of records, and then that'll be like part 1, and then there'll be like part 2 and a part 3 if needed. So yeah, without further ado, let's get this started. So the first rack I'm going to be showing you is all rock CDs. That includes hard rock, heavy metal, psychedelia, or psychedelic rock, also folk rock, just rock in general. So the first CD I have is It Won't Be Soon Before Long by Maroon 5. Next is Eric Clapton Icon, so it's a Eric Clapton compilation CD. Next is She Looks So Pretty EP by 5 Seconds of Summer. Next is Queen Icon, so a Queen compilation album. Next is Odelay by Beck, really great album. Next is My Aim Is True by Elvis Costello. Then 20th Century Masters, The Mamas and the Papas, compilation album. Then we have 20th Century Masters, Chuck Berry, a Chuck Berry compilation album. Then we have South Saturn Delta by Jimi Hendrix. You can see him riding a motorcycle. Pretty neat. Next we have Rage Against the Machine self-titled album. Next we have Lonerism by Tame Impala, one of my favorite records from recent years. Next we have Brothers by the Black Keys. And also by the Black Keys we have El Camino. Next is The Flat Earth by Thomas Dolby. Next is Fields of Gold, The Best of Sting, so a Sting compilation album. Next is Let It Be Naked by The Beatles. Then we have Hotel California by The Eagles, awesome album. Next is Supernatural by Santana. After that, we have The Ramones' Greatest Hits. Next is Gorillaz' self-titled album. After that is AC/DC Highway to Hell. Classic. Next is Sting, Brand New Day, or Brand New Day by Sting, would probably be a better way to say it. Next is Pyromania by Def Leppard. After that is Nevermind by Nirvana, one of my favorite albums of all time. Next is The Cry of Love by Jimi Hendrix. And then we have Presence by Led Zeppelin. Next we have something a bit more recent, and that is Sometimes I Sit and Think and Sometimes I Just Sit by Courtney Barnett. Really cool album. Next is The Velvet Underground and Nico by The Velvet Underground and Nico, so it's a self-titled album, sort of. This is also one of my favorite albums of all time. Next is Brian Wilson's self-titled album. And after that is Jimi Hendrix Experience live at Monterey. So a live album, really great live album. After that is Black Sabbath's debut self-titled album, and also by Black Sabbath, Paranoid. And then next we have Captured by Journey. After that is A Day at the Races by Queen. Great album. Next is Karate High School by Arcade Rock, or I believe it's Arcade Rock by Karate High School. Next is Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Original Artists, so just a compilation of like you know, old rockers from like the 50s. Next is People, Hell, and Angels by Jimi Hendrix. After that is Currents by Tame Impala. This is actually more of a dance rock record, but yeah. Next is Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 2. After that is The Hollies' Greatest Hits. Next is Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette. Great album. After that, we have Janis Joplin's Greatest Hits. Then we have Departure by Journey. Next we have one of my all-time favorite albums, Are You Experienced by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Then we have Escape by Journey. This is the one with Don't Stop Believin', in case you were wondering. Next is the Velvet Underground self-titled album. Really great album. After that is Songs About Jane by Maroon 5. Next is Blonde on Blonde by Bob Dylan. Great album. Then we have Sea Change by Beck. And we have Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones. And after that we have 20th Century Masters, The Best of Buddy Holly. One of my all-time favorite artists from the 50s, the early rockabilly era. Then we have Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Sorry, the sticker is still on there. Take that off. Next we have AC/DC Back in Black. I'm sorry, there's a sticker scratch on the top corner there. Then we have The Joshua Tree by U2. And then we have the 60s Bob Dylan. It's a Bob Dylan compilation album of stuff from, of course, the 60s. After that, and I don't have a front cover for this, but it's Band of Gypsies by Jimi Hendrix. Or Jimi Hendrix and the Band of Gypsies. It's a live album. Really great album. Really great live album. And then we have Some Girls by the Rolling Stones. This is one of my favorite Rolling Stones albums. Next is One Hot Minute by Red Hot Chili Peppers. After that we have Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. Really awesome album. Then we have the Uplift Mofo Party Plan by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And then finally on this row we have Music from Another Dimension by Aerosmith. Moving on to the next row of this rack, and the first couple of records are a lot of Beatles. So let's get started. First we have Help by the Beatles. Then we have Magical Mystery Tour, one of my favorite Beatles records. And then after that, we have Please Please Me, which was actually the Beatles' very first record. Our very first album. Next we have With the Beatles, a really great early Beatles record. Then we have Abbey Road, which was the last one they of course recorded. And then we have Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, one of my all-time favorite albums, and widely regarded as the greatest album ever made, for good reason. Next is Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. This is the actual album, not the soundtrack. I don't have the soundtrack, but yeah, that's the actual album. Next is A Hard Day's Night by the Beatles. This is also the album and not the soundtrack. I do have the soundtrack to this, which I'll show later. Next is Let It Be by the Beatles, the actual Let It Be. And now moving on to Led Zeppelin 1, or just Led Zeppelin self-titled album. Awesome first album for a band. Now we have Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. You might know this, maybe not. This is my all-time favorite album. This beats out any other album that I have. My all-time favorite. Next we have Pink Floyd's first album, Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Awesome, really trippy album. If you want some weird rock music, this is it for you. Next is Beck's Mellow Gold. There you go. Then we have another Beatles record, Rubber Soul. Awesome record. I love this album. I've listened to it like a million times. Next after that we have Imagine by John Lennon. Really great album. It's like the only John Lennon album people seem to know. Next we have Led Zeppelin 4, which is often regarded as, like, you know, their best album, which, you know, is debatable. Now we have Houses of the Holy, also by Led Zeppelin. Really great album. I love the Rain song. Oh my goodness. Beautiful song. Next we have Multiply by Ed Sheeran. So this is a kind of recent album. Next we have Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones. Then we have Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Then we have So Far by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I think this is a compilation album. Yeah, this is a compilation album. So, yeah. Next we have Inagata da Vida by the Iron Butterfly. Really trippy album. Next we have American Idiot by Green Day. Then we have By the Way by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now we have the amazing rock opera Tommy by The Who, one of my favorite records of all time. Now we have Tailgates and Tan Lines by Luke Bryan. Little story about this album. This is something that I bought for one of my girlfriends a long time ago. It was a present, but unfortunately she died. She passed away from cancer before I could give it to her. So I've always kept it, and I never opened it or anything. So, yeah. Now we have Highway 61 Revisited by Bob Dylan. Amazing record, folk rock. And then we have BBC Sessions by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. So this is, no, well, not really live, but it's, you know, a BBC record. You know how those go. Next we have Morning Phase by Beck, a pretty recent record. No, this is like 2014, yeah. Next we have The Very Best of The Who, or My Generation, The Very Best of The Who. So it's a compilation album of The Who, so this is a really good thing to have if you want to get into The Who, of course. Next we have Sun Recordings Greatest Hits, Jerry Lee Lewis. So it's a compilation album of Jerry Lee Lewis, who's another one of my favorite 50s artists. Next we have The Very Best of The Animals. Of course you have Eric Burdon on here, who's one of my all-time favorite vocalists. Then we have 20 essential tracks from the box set in 1965, 1990, okay. The Birds, so it's a Birds compilation album. Next, we have What Hits by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. This is a compilation album of their bigger hits during the time. This is 1992, so yeah, some of the earlier stuff. Next, we have The Very Best of the Rolling Stones, 1964 to 1971. So a bunch of their hits, of course. This is a really good compilation to have if you want to get into the Rolling Stones. After that, we have If You Leave Me Now and Other Hits by Chicago. So I believe this is a compilation album by Chicago. Really great compilation album. Then we have Blue Wild Angel, Jimi Hendrix Live at the Isle of Wight. So a live album. Next is That's Why God Made the Radio by the Beach Boys. This was their most recent record. This was like 2000. This is 2012. So yeah, it's probably the last record they're ever going to make, actually. Next we have Parachutes by Coldplay. Really, this is my favorite Coldplay album. This is back when they were still putting out great rock records. Next is well-respected Kinks, a Kinks compilation album. Really cool. Kinks are one of my favorite British invasion bands. Next we have Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, an amazing album. I definitely recommend you check this out. Next is Wired by Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck is one of the all-time great guitarists. Next we have 20th Century Masters, Grand Funk Railroad. Next we have Milo Xyloto by Coldplay, and I know I said Parachutes was like their best record, and that's kind of when they were still doing really good rock, but that's actually a pretty good record, so yeah. Next we have Master Puppets by Metallica, a classic, of course. Next we have Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. This, I believe, was their last record. This is also one of my favorite records of all time, so yeah. A lot of these are my favorite records of all time. Next we have Classic Yes, Yes compilation album. Next we have Demon Days by Gorillaz. This is also one of my all-time favorite records. I love this album to death. So yeah. Next we have Legend, The Best of Bob Marley and the Wailers. Really great compilation to own. This is like the seminal Bob Marley, album or record that you want to own in your collection. So yeah. Next is Flashback with the Grateful Dead, a Grateful Dead compilation album. Really cool. Next is Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. This is a classic album, of course. It seems like everybody owns a Fleetwood Mac album, but I've had that for a while. Next is something recent, Tell Me I'm Pretty by Cage the Elephant. It's not a bad record. It's like your psychedelic garage rock stuff. Next is this is Metallica's self-titled album. It's also known as the Black Album. So yeah, you can kind of see a reflection in there. But this is all black. Oh, actually, there's like a snake coiled, and their name is like right here, but you can't see that. Yeah. Next is Dookie by Green Day, a classic punk rock album. Let's see here. Next we have James Bay, Chaos and the Calm by James Bay. This is recent. This was this year. Yeah, this was this year, I believe. Next, I don't have a cover for this, but Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits. Next is The Division Bell by Pink Floyd, one of their later albums. And last in this rack is Sounds of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to show in this video is a crate of records. This is a whole mixture of different records. This is like pop, rock, jazz, whatever. And these are records that were either too big, or too little, or too fat, or whatever to fit on the rack. So, yeah. The first one I have is In Through the Outdoor by Led Zeppelin, and it comes in this neat little paper thing, and here's the actual album cover and stuff. So yeah. Next is keep falling over. Here is Plectrum Electrum by Third Eye Girl. This is how it should be, but you know, it's like this. This was Prince's recent all-female group, or all-female band, before he passed away. Next, I have Ghost Stories by Coldplay. Next is Fly Like an Eagle by the Steve Miller Band. After that is Bad, the 25th edition of Bad by Michael Jackson. This is 2 discs. It has like the actual album plus some original cuts. Next is Beyonce's self-titled album. Awesome album from recent years. Next is the follow-up rock opera by The Who, Quadrophenia. Awesome album, really cool. After that is Paul McCartney's New. Then we have my personal favorite Led Zeppelin album, Led Zeppelin 2. I also think this is like their best album. That's debatable, of course, but I do think that is their best album. Next, I have Revolver by the Beatles. And this comes in a different cover than the other ones, so, and it's too big to fit on the rack. So, yeah. Next is 1989 by Taylor Swift. This is a deluxe edition. Of course, this, you know, won a whole lot at award shows in the past year or so. Next is a classic, Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, one of my all-time favorite records. Next we have one of my recent favorite records, Sound and Color by Alabama Shakes. After that is a live album, Return to Forever Live. This is a jazz fusion live album. Has Stanley Clarke and some other really great talented artists and musicians. Next is some Prince stuff. I have Musicology by Prince. This is probably my favorite Prince album, actually. After that is Sign of the Times. Hold on, trying to get it. By Prince. People usually say that this is his best album. This is a 2-disc album, as you can see. It's pretty fat. But yeah, people say this is his best record, his best album, which is debatable. But it's still really good. I agree. It's one of his best for sure. Next, I actually have 2 copies of this one. This is Emancipation by Prince. The reason I have 2 copies of it, you can see it's 2 discs. Also. Actually, it's 3 discs. This is a 3-disc album, so it's lengthy. But yeah, the reason I have 2 copies is because the original copy that I had was missing 1 disc, so I had to buy another one. So yeah. After that, we have one of my favorites from last year, I Love You Honey Bear by Father John Misty, whose real name is Josh Tillman. So yeah. Next is Yesterday and Today, The Beatles. This is the infamous Butcher cover, as you can see. That was really controversial, but you know, they put it out in CD form like last year or the year before or something like that. So yeah, because of course you live in, you know, 21st century, it's not going to be as controversial now. And I mentioned this earlier. I have a Hard Day's Night soundtrack by the Beatles. This was actually given to me as a present by my girlfriend. So yeah. Next is another one of my favorites from last year, Depression Cherry by Beach House. This is a nice red velvet cover. It feels so nice. It's one of the main reasons I bought that. Next we have another BBC session, or live at the BBC. This is the Beatles. This is 2 discs. You can see. Really, it's like 30-something tracks per disc, so it's long. And next we have, I'm gonna carry these in my hand because these are kind of small. We have a bunch of Beach Boys records. We have Surfin' USA, one of their earlier records. And these are actually all more of their earlier records. We have Little Deuce Coupe by the Beach Boys. Next we have All Summer Long by the Beach Boys, of course. And we have Summer Days and Summer Nights, one of my favorite Beach Boys records. This was like before, this is when they were transitioning into like Pet Sounds and stuff. And we also have, for the Beach Boys' very first album, Surfin' Safari. This is a 2-disc thing. You really can't really tell from that, but it has like mono and stereo. So, yeah. Next we have Brian Wilson Presents Smile. This is one of my all-time favorite records. Actually, this and of course the Beach Boys Smile Sessions, one of my all-time favorites, next to Pet Sounds. And then we have, oh geez, okay, so we have Endless Wire by The Who. This is actually a 2-disc album, and it's like an album plus a mini opera plus a live, I think CD, a live album. So yeah. Next we have The Ultimate Bee Gees. This is a 2-disc Bee Gees compilation album with a whole bunch of their, greatest hits. Next is The Best of British Invasion. This is a 3-disc album. It actually opens up a kind of weird way. You have to open it up like this, and then there's this, and you see all 3 discs and stuff. So yeah, and it has a bunch of artists from. You're not going to see like the Beatles or the Who or the Kinks or the Zombies or anything like this on here. It's more like, I guess, obscure artists during the British Invasion, but yeah, still really cool. Next we have AM by the Arctic Monkeys, which is considered one of the best albums of the past couple of years, and I agree, it's a really great album. Next is Led Zeppelin 3, and it has this, if I can show it off really quickly, it has this cool thing where you can spin it around. If I can, yeah, you just pull this here and you can see it spin. So yeah. Next is Talking Dreams by Echo Smith. Let's see, it's kind of coming out there. Next we have one of Prince's more recent albums, Artificial Age. Next we have A Head Full of Dreams by Coldplay. This was their recent album. And finally, the last one I have for this video is Yes, Greatest Hits. So yeah, that does it for this part. And they're probably all going to be this lengthy, but yeah, just want to show off my some of my stuff first, and I'll show off the rest of the stuff in separate parts. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next part. So long.